So we're about 2 full months into 2018 now, and the Samsung Galaxy S9 was just announced yesterday. Now, Android flagships are beginning to be pretty expensive. So what do you do if you don't have $800+ sitting around just to spend on a mobile phone? Well, you can always get an older phone. So stay tuned as I review one of my favorite older phones. Hey, what's up guys? David McVandy here and welcome to my channel. Before I begin, I would like to thank the people who have subscribed. I've only been making videos on this channel for about 6 weeks now, so there isn't that many of you, but I would like to say thank you. I appreciate all your support and I will continue to make videos for you guys, and I hope you enjoy them. Now, the phone I'll be reviewing today is the Galaxy S7, and this is a very special phone for more than one reason. First of all, this was the phone I actually owned up until last September, so I actually used this phone for over a year. And the second reason why this is a very special phone is because this was the last completely flat screen S-line phone that Samsung made. After this, they moved on to the Note 7 and the Galaxy S8, which all have curved screens. So it's like a relic of a bygone era in a way. At the moment, this phone is running Android 7.0 Nougat. However, there is an Android Oreo update in the works, but unfortunately at this point nobody knows exactly when it will be released, so we're just gonna have to wait and see. But the good news is that the phone will eventually get updated, so it will be running a more modern OS. Now, specs wise, the United States got the Snapdragon 820 version and the rest of the world got the Exynos 8890. I think China may have got the Snapdragon version too, but don't quote me on that. Now, both of these processors again have their strengths and weaknesses, and there are several videos out there showing that the Exynos version actually outperformed the Snapdragon in things such as RAM management and speed. However, these differences were minuscule. So even though I have the Exynos version in my hand, which is kind of weird because usually Canada and the US get the same exact version, so this review will be relevant to you no matter which variant you have, because performance wise they're pretty much equal. So besides the processor, these phones have 4 GB of RAM and 32 GB of internal storage, which is actually upgradable because Samsung reintroduced the micro SD card slot, which the Galaxy S6 didn't have. So it's a very good thing that Samsung did this, so you do have the option to expand the storage. Furthermore, this has a 5.1-inch Super AMOLED 2K display. Now, when I first saw the display about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, I was really wowed by it. However, now that I've seen the Galaxy S8 and the Galaxy Note 8, this phone just doesn't have the wow factor and doesn't have the punchiness that the new phones have. I think it's a brightness and saturation issue because the new phones are definitely brighter, and those rounded edges just makes the screen look like it's something from the future. However, this phone still has an excellent screen. It's still 2K like I said. It has excellent color reproduction and it's a pretty bright display, although not as bright as what's on Samsung's newer stuff. So besides being an excellent cell phone, this is also a great media consumption phone. Now, there are some things about this phone which will take a bit away from the media experience, and I will get to those in a bit. However, overall, I would say this is an excellent phone for watching videos, playing video games, and browsing the web. It's also an excellent phone for multitasking. This has 4 GB of RAM, so you can have multiple apps running in the background while not experiencing any or much of a lag in the app you're currently running. So Samsung put a 3000 milliamp hour battery in this phone, and I remember I would take this phone to work with me, and it would be fully charged in the morning, and I wouldn't have to charge it most of the time until the next morning, but that was with light use. For the past couple of days I've been using this phone, and the story is this used to be my phone until I gave it away to my sister when I got the Note 8. So I got it back from her just to use it for a couple of days so I could do this review for you guys. So I decided to put the battery to the test, and I played video games, browsed the web, and watched videos on YouTube or Netflix non-stop, and I got about 5 hours of screen on time, which is excellent. Now both of these phones have pretty good GPUs. Apparently the Adreno 530, which is found on the Snapdragon version, is better than what's in the Exynos, which has a Mali GPU. However, I remember playing NBA 2K16 on this phone with the graphics boosted to max setting, and I experienced very little lag and the game was very playable. Now there was a little bit of lag when I play that same game on my Galaxy Note 8 with the graphics set at max. I find that it's a lot smoother on the Galaxy Note 8. However, the Galaxy Note 8 has 2 extra gigabytes of RAM and a newer processor. But the fact that it could run that game almost perfectly is a lot to say about a phone that's 2 years old, and that was a pretty graphic intensive game as well. And since the Snapdragon version supposedly has the better GPU, then it could probably do that game even better than what mine could. So you can imagine the possibilities as far as video games go with these phones. Now because I haven't played any games on this for a few months now, I decided to download Dead Trigger and just refresh my memory a bit. Now I didn't touch the graphics on Dead Trigger just to see how it could play games pretty much right out of the box, and it ran it very smoothly. There was no hiccups, and if there was a drop in frame rate, I didn't notice it. So if you want to buy a phone and you play a lot of mobile games, then I think this is an excellent choice, especially in the bargain area. Now Samsung decided to continue what they started with the Galaxy S6 as far as body style goes. So on the back and front we have Gorilla Glass 4, and on the sides we have aluminum. Now this phone was released 1 year before Samsung decided to include a dedicated Bixby button on all their phones. So on the left we have a very lonely volume rocker, which I actually prefer that way because I never use the Bixby button on my Note 8. On the right we have the power button, and this phone was also the last Galaxy S phone to have the physical home button, and there's a fingerprint sensor built into the home button, which I would say is pretty fast. On the bottom we have the headphone jack and a micro USB charging port. There is no USB-C, however this phone does support fast cable charging and fast wireless charging right out of the box. There's also a single speaker on the bottom, which is actually one of the weak points of this phone. The speaker just doesn't sound that good. Now one of the reasons this speaker is so lackluster could have to do with the IP68 water repellent rating. So this phone is IP68 water resistant, which means you could take it in the pool, you could take it in the shower with you, although I don't recommend it. The camera on the Galaxy S6 was a 16 megapixel shooter. However, Samsung decided to lower the megapixels to 12, starting with the Galaxy S7 and so on even to their current smartphones. Now the reason why they did this is because they decided to use bigger pixels, so even though there's less pixels in the camera, the photos actually look better. The camera also has a wider aperture than what was in the Galaxy S6, so the aperture is at f1.7, which means it's pretty good in low light. And the camera also has a pro mode, so you can tweak different parts of the camera to get the picture that you want. Now let's get into some of the weaknesses about this phone. Because it's an all glass and aluminum phone, it's very slippery. Like this phone can slip out of your hand or slip out of your pocket very easily. So you probably want to put a case on it as soon as you get one, and I mean as soon as possible, because there's nothing worse than that phone cracking on you the first day you buy it. And also the case will help with reducing fingerprint stains, because this phone is a fingerprint magnet. Like you could probably see my fingerprints all over this phone right now, and this was clean before I started this video. And that's it for me, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Again, thank you to my subscribers. If you're not subscribed, then hit that subscribe button, like the video if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next week. Have a good night or a good day wherever you are.